actually happened this week. It's a bit of a rough time for me at home right now, holding my husband, a ball of tension. One day, the three of us were just watching TV. My son said that, Mommy and Daddy, like, I know the both of you love me, but do the both of you love each other?
No.
He said that?
Yeah.
But he's very edified.
That is amazing.
But I was so sad.
Why did he say
so
that?
sad.
Why did he say
Because
that?
I think it's the tone that me and my husband was speaking to each other, but not knowing that it is already very like fueled with like anger or tension, you know. So I think kids can tell. Like kids can tell. So, you know, and then so then like consciously I tell my husband, like, I say, okay, you know, from now on, we can.
What did you respond to?
Yeah, what did you
I was there. Of course, then my husband stepped in lah. He said, "Oh no, obviously we love each other." Both of us tried to rush to explain that, like, oh, obviously we love each other. Sometimes we're not patient or whatever, so that's why it's important. There's only so much you can say to a child because I feel like he also can tell. So like this whole week, right? Basically, every opportunity I try to tell him how much I love his father. You know what I mean? But I realize that I keep going back to that night and I realize, right, that I'm just trying to like make amends, you know, for what he's been seeing. Because in my head, it's like, how much must this kid have been observing for him to blurt out something like that? And I was really very sad. And also like, and then you see like all of these gurus or whatever parenting advice who say, oh, don't suppress negative feeling, that kind of stuff. I mean, it gets your question to me, like how much of this negative feelings, because if the family is going through a hard time, we are going through a hard time, right? We shouldn't hide it in that sense, but at the same time, you want to be really conscious of what the mood is at home, and they're watching. I don't know. I guess mine is a more like dramatic story because like he really just let it out this week. So I'm genuinely curious for you guys. Are you more conscious about what you guys are saying, doing in front of your children? You know, how does that come to play? If you know that argument is coming, you know, if you just add about one sentence, like woman, we are gold. Yeah. You know, like do you all like what you do like actually like in the car, but it can't be big, you know, it's like small things lah.
Okay, so never happened in the car, but I think for me a bit lucky because my sister has always been living with us, right? So whenever me and Vinod need privacy in terms of fighting or arguing, right, we always go inside the room. So it's a habit. Yeah, so and it's a good habit, I guess. So even now when we have kids, whenever we feel that the argument is going to come up or one of us just runs into the room, we know that we're going to fight and we're going to be inside.
Okay, so the telltale sign. So when you run into the room, and then if he doesn't follow, then who you fight?
I'll message him or call.
Maybe the room now, but for very long
I'm going to the room. Come here now.
So, but it's usually me who goes into the room because I don't get pissed off. We don't really does that, but we usually have that. So I think it's very safe to say, right, that Nikhil and Ishanya have never seen me and Vinod arguing. I think it's a very good thing, but Nikhil has seen me arguing with my parents. So it's a bit different,
because they're gonna follow you into your room.
Yes, exactly, right? So when they come over and then they, end up saying something and then I end up arguing, we've had a few arguments like that. I've raised my voice, they've raised their voice, but then Nikhil will get very quiet, like you said, and then when I see that, right, I will actively start managing my emotions. I'll be like, okay, we're not going to have this conversation when he's awake, just drop it and, we'll talk about it another time.
You think he understands but something like
I don't think he understands, but I think it's very different for him because my parents only come in, twice a month, okay, every week once maybe. And then when you grow up in a place where there's no fights and no arguments and suddenly you're exposed to this kind of things, I think it gets to him. I can see the difference in him, at that point. But does it prolong after that? I'm not quite sure. I haven't seen that part yet. Yeah.
You know what? This reminds me of but so she told me something very interesting. It's actually very important that when she fights with her husband, she will actually fight in front of her kids consciously. And then she will also show them how it's being resolved.
Oh, that's
and she said it's actually very important for a kid to know that in normal relationships, you actually fight.
Yeah.
You are two different individuals and you should be comfortable to speak out about your differing opinions, right? There's also no point of suppressing it, but you always have to show the kid that, okay, we have this argument, but then we resolve it. It's okay. We will still go out for dinner. You'll see us holding hands. You'll see us kissing each other. Yeah, that's fine. Like, this is just part of life.
Yeah.
But then what that made me really conscious of, I think even before we have a kid, is that we actually need to up our game in knowing how to have a difficult conversation. That is a skill that is just like so hard for us. We are consciously trying to learn how to disagree in a healthier way, but it's a struggle. So what that ex-colleague told me, right, was that what happens is that when a kid grows up and then they get into a relationship and they've never seen their parents fighting, they think when you fight means this is the end of the relationship. Yeah. Something bad has happened. Because relationships, they're not supposed to be fight, they're just supposed to be happy. So I thought that was a very good point. But I guess it also be like, what kind of arguments you
I think it's also age. Like for me, right, when I feel that people are shouting in the house, I feel like it traumatizes them. When I used to see my parents fighting, for example, right, I always felt so bad and like traumatized after that. I keep thinking about it. I don't know if my kids will react in the same way, but I also feel that they need a certain level of maturity to understand or even grasp that concept that people fight and then they make up after that. Like right now when I do it, I just feel like I'm terrifying him with my screams.
Because he's not mature enough to understand.
I think hit like the nail on the head. It's on the idea of how to regulate emotion. I think they call it like ER or something like that. It's not
big feelings.
No, it's like big feelings. No, not really. So like it's this idea of like ER. So the idea is that the emotion in itself is not wrong. It's what you do with the emotion. And the modeling or the idea or concept of modeling and the effectiveness comes upon when they are looking at you, not knowing how and where to place anger, or not knowing how to show, for example, sadness. That makes a difference between throwing tantrums and whatnot. And for myself, I am very guilty, I think, of like outbursts. I burst really quickly, I calm down really quickly. Yeah. Whereas my husband, he's on the other side. He doesn't have an outburst, but he holds the anger for a long time. It takes a lot more, obviously, to appease that. It's almost a beep in terms of the emotion. Every village has a certain dominant energy, right? I mean, I would definitely say mine would be like anger.
In your village?
In my village. Anger. In this case, like, anger doesn't mean good or bad. We thrive on anger, right? Whether we're talking about change or whether we're angry because like the whole external family doesn't get together enough. Why this uncle never come? It's predominantly anger. It can be a joyous kind of anger. It doesn't need to be bad. But like for you guys, how is it like?
In our home, it's predominantly laughter and happiness actually. Like we are always laughing and we are in damn good mood. I think this happens because we get in a lot of help. Like we have a helper. I've quit my full-time job because it was so stressful for me. Every time after work, in front of our child, I was complaining to Ziv about work. I was so tired and so stressed out. And I was just telling myself like, this cannot be how I spend my first year in front of my child. After work, first I'm working very long hours. The few hours that he sees me when I feed him and put him to sleep, it's just me complaining. Because that's also the time when you meet your husband, right? I was very conscious that, oh my God, I do not want him to absorb this in his first year. This is all he's going to get of me.
Like the negative.
This is all I'm about. So I had to remove myself from that. And it helps. Even then, I don't think it was like anger towards each other because it was like kind of like a support system. So like even when I was complaining, my husband would be very nice and supportive. But even then, I could get very impatient with him. So I think that's also the situation where I'm very stressed at work. Then I just throw it on him. Because who else can I throw it to? No one else, right? No one else can take my shit, so he has to take it. Once I got myself removed from that, it's definitely a lot of happiness. And like, I was brought up in an environment where there's a lot of fear and anxiety. Yeah, like very strict upbringing. Every time you do something wrong, you're going to be punished. So it was definitely very scary for me. I was also very conscious that I think I do not want my child to experience that. Yeah, but to the point that I don't know whether I'll overcompensate. I'm a bit worried about it. I was feeling like Ziv and I will overcompensate. Especially me. Because I had so much anxiety that I want to make my child feel chill and calm. But we'll see what happens. But for now, I think I'm trying to go that direction.
Do you think children can see beneath the layers? Like that, I'm just also like figuring it out. Yeah, for you and Ref, what's your village? I guess
energy. Yeah, I would want to say love and joy also, but I'm thinking that that's what everyone wants to have ultimately, right? So the helper, she chats about her country and whatnot, and then my sister has her own conversations about work and her wedding, so on and so forth, and then I come in and I start reading a storybook. So I feel it's a bit messy. Yeah, maybe not chatty, messy. Like it's generally a bit messy. Like it's a bit like chunks of everything in there. And then the grandparents come in with their own stories, so on and so forth. So yeah, I think also because just our immediate family is already about 10 to 12 of us, right? So a lot of people, and they're always coming and going. Also now my son is into like Tamil songs and dancing and whatnot. So we put on YouTube and then he starts dancing. So I guess grandparents are very happy when Tamil is our mother tongue. So when they communicate in there, they get even more happier.
Okay.